I'm a little concerned right now about your salvation and stuff.
Hello, I'm Jordan Kaiser, and today I'm going to talk about baptism in film. Baptism is a surprisingly common motif in film, and it doesn't always look like this. More often, it looks like this, or even this. It can be subtle, but once you know what it looks like, you can find it a lot of places you wouldn't expect.
Whoa.
While there are countless American films I could draw from, I'm going to focus on Latin American film because that's the class I just took. But first, we need to cover the basics. In the Christian tradition, baptism represents an initiation into the community of believers as a Christian. Just like taking a shower or a bath cleans the body, baptism symbolically cleans the soul. And whereas redemption emphasizes freedom from past sin, rebirth is a commitment to future change. Baptism evinces death and rebirth, signifying a new nature. One of my favorite baptism scenes hidden in plain sight comes from the Motorcycle Diaries. Ernesto wrestles with his privilege and the different classes he sees during his road trip, which culminates in a climactic swim across the Amazon to spend his birthday with lepers. Why include this scene? It doesn't advance the plot. Ernesto and Alberto are both saying their farewells to the colony in the next scene, so Ernesto didn't need to stay the night. The director could have used 1,000 different events to hit a climax at this point in the story. What does baptism do for the film here? Couple things. Ernesto baptizes himself into membership not just in solidarity with the lepers, but into the idea of equity, or, better phrased, community with those of lower class than him. The component of redemption is interesting here in that he is symbolically cleansing himself of his privilege by rejecting his friends, while in a literal sense swimming towards traditionally unclean lepers. But most importantly, he's reborn. Baptism scenes revolving around the main character will usually be found at the break between acts. If between acts 1 and 2, to highlight a character rising to the challenge posed in act 1, and if between the second and third acts, to emphasize a character's change as the final solution that will bring about resolution. After Ernesto swims the river, though, there's only 10 minutes left before the credits roll. What's the point of having a character experience a major turnaround at the end of a movie with only the epilogue left? The director wants us to feel like the story is incomplete, because it is. Swimming across the river is much more of an Act 1 to 2 rising to the challenge baptism than a final solution baptism you'd find between Acts 2 and 3. And that's because the whole movie is supposed to feel like the first act of the life of Che Guevara. His baptism emphasizes that and gives us a religious sense of beginning at the very end of the film. Let's play a game. I'll show you a scene from a movie, and we'll figure out if it's a baptism scene or not. Let's start with this one from The Liberator. This seemingly random shot is intentionally placed to mark the moment where Simón goes from being an elitist to a man of the people. Just prior to this shot, he's beating a local for stealing his boots and comes to his senses. Immediately afterwards, he's redeemed himself, joined the people, and reborn in his mission to liberate Latin America. How about this in media res opening from Innocent Voices? This torrential downpour may have the water for a baptism, but no one's undergoing any sort of change here. No initiation, no redemption, no rebirth, not a baptism. Instructions not included. We didn't watch this movie in class, but I want to cover it anyway because it's so great. It marks the exact moment Valentin decides to take care of Maggie as his own, redeems him from his promiscuous past, and conquers his fears and gives him a new purpose. Definitely a baptism. In this scene from Maria Full of Grace, the title character makes kind of a commitment to stay in the US, feels bad about drug running, and makes a commitment to take care of her baby. But there's no water, so no baptism. Which is surprising, given all the other religious elements of this film, and it would have been so easy to have someone wash something in a medical clinic. My best guess is that the director wanted to stick with the communion motif and not potentially throw the audience down the wrong path. Machuca is a fun one. There are 3 water scenes in this film. The first 2 are not turning points for anyone, and while you could make arguments for community here, I don't think it's enough. The third one, however, looks like this. Think about it. The country is in upheaval. The whole world is getting baptized here, yet Gonzalo remains dry in his car, unchanged by anything going on around him. If you've seen this film, it's a perfect representation of his character's relationship with the world around him. I've just given you a bunch of examples, but I've only scratched the surface. There were several other baptisms just from my class this semester that I would have loved to analyze, but just didn't have time for. Think twice next time you see someone get wet on screen. Are they just wet, or have they been reborn?
Got us in the rain.
I'm Jordan, and thanks for watching.